Hello, everybody. I'd like to introduce you to Paul Sanders, the Chairman of the Association of Pallet Networks. Thank you very much for joining us today, Paul.
Morning, David, and thank you very much for the invitation to do this podcast this morning.
Absolute pleasure. So, could you give us an overview of the pallet network sector and where it fits in the supply chain cycle, please?
Yeah, of course. Association of Pallet Networks represents 8 of the pallet networks today, I'm pleased to say. So that's all of the main UK pallet networks. Within those networks, these 900 hauliers, approximately 25,000 vehicles, approximately 35,000 people. So a big employer. Pallet Networks is a national collaboration of hauliers of all sizes, from small family businesses to national corporate businesses. The Pallet Networks deliver each year 28 million pallets per year to customers, and 61% of those are delivered next day, which has grown obviously over the last couple of decades. 16% to B2C, to home delivery, which during the pandemic was hitting sort of 20%. Previous to that, it was around 13-14%. So it's still up to where it was pre the pandemic. So 16% home delivery. And it's got a really good efficient trunk fill of 76%. When you take the average of the industry, it's sitting at 69%. So highly efficient pallet network trunking. I think from an APM point of view, David, I'd like to share with you what our ambitions are, what our strategic ambition is. Firstly, sharing best practice. We meet quarterly with the Pallet Network health and safety managers to share best practice in a room, what's happened in hub activity. And we've been logging those health and safety stats now for 15 years, so we've got a good experience into that. Pleased to say in Q1 this year, we've seen a 16% reduction in accidents. We know one accident is one accident too many, but an interesting stat is 0.43% of accidents per 100,000 pallets. And that, as I say, that's a 16% reduction in what we saw previously. So, we're here to promote the sector and the profile. Very much on the sustainability journey. Networks in their own right are a sustainable logistics solution. But we've set up some key KPIs. And if we look at energy, this year against the previous year, we're seeing a 6.1% reduction, which is really encouraging. And we are now managing fuel and MPG used in the hubs, not on the road, but in the hubs, because we have control of that data, waste, water and paper. And I know we're releasing a press release with some good news on that next week. So really good. And we're here to promote careers, not just lorry drivers and forklift drivers, but roles in operations, admin, finance, and in all aspects of business. So very much here to promote careers. And as the APM, we measure key stats that we share with the networks each quarter, and that's where average number of pallets per weight, etc., goes onto a platform where the networks can get that data, and that's been really valuable. So that's really the role and where the APN fits, David.
No, that's really useful. And I've got a figure in my head roughly, but how long ago did Pallet Networks start?
About 32 years ago, would you believe?
Gosh.
Yeah, so yeah, it's amazing where that time comes. And of course, there's been massive growth during that period. We saw years where we saw 50% growth, year on year.
And whilst it's an established sector now, Paul, probably at that time it was a disruptor, wasn't it, when it was set up then?
Well, it was, and it was attracting business from other logistic modes. You're quite right, yeah, and proved to be very efficient.
Gosh, thank you for that. And what brought you into the lovely logistics sector?
Well, It was some 40 years ago this year, David. So how time flies. When they say it's in your blood, I think it definitely is. I started in the family container haulage business in Birmingham some 40 years ago, working in the traffic office and working through the business. That then developed into a national groupage business in the 80s, doing part loads and small loads and consolidating them with an economy nationwide service and we also with a parcel service offering. And then in the 90s, with the progression that developed to become a leading pallet network, and that was sold by our group back in 2003.
Gosh.
So it's in 2000, I stayed with that business until 2006. I then rejoined Allports Group, which is where I am today, to focus on our retail dealerships and commercial contract hire for truck and trailer to customers, and doing that obviously still today under the banner of Allports Group. And in 2006, set up the APN, lobbied the entrepreneurial leaders of the pallet networks in those times, and got them to join the APN and support it, which I'm pleased to say they all did, and hence we're still here today. And I joined the RHA board in 2023. You know, what's become more and more apparent is that it's really important for the trade associations to be working in collaboration and working on the industry's success rather than individually. And that's really running through the logistics industry at the moment. And I think it's very important one to continue with.
Yeah.
So that's my background, Dave.
Thank you very much. I think, you know, the industry is amazing to work in and work with. But most of us, you know, generally fall into it rather than have a strategy to join it. And hopefully through things like this and what you're doing with the associations, you'll attract, you know, the new young blood into the sector, because it's brilliant, challenging but fun. You know, it's challenging but
Absolutely.
fun. So, absolutely. No, that's great. That's great. And what would you see as the current challenges in the pallet network sector and marketplace?
What are the current challenges? Well, there's always a challenge, isn't there? There's always challenge. What did we see? You know, we saw the pandemic, didn't we, David? You know, who saw that challenge coming around the corner? And you know, all the pallet network teams across the country became heroes, and they were heroes. And the APM worked together with all the members there as critical workers, and we got the critical worker status. So that was definitely a challenge. But that's gone now. And the biggest challenge today, David, is increasing costs. You know, as a sector, we're managing increasing costs, we're managing lower volumes, which obviously brings through competitiveness. So all I would say is, you know, urge people to understand your costs. That's always been an essential ingredient in haulage, and it's no different to how it's ever been. Than to know your numbers. It's critical. Driver shortage, there's still a driver shortage. You know, we're average driver age at 53. There's still a shortage. As you've just said, you know, we still need to look at how we attract youngsters or younger people into the sector at all levels, really. I think we've seen a high increase in business failures in our sectors over the last couple of years, which is concerning and a challenge. And it's important that operators, you know, work with their networks and their customers and build long-term partnerships. You know, the networks are definitely there to work with their haulage members and make sure that everybody's there for the long term.
Thank you. And what do you see as the biggest opportunities for the sector in the next 3 to 5 years?
Well, opportunities. We like opportunities. We'll see volumes develop and build, David. You know, the pallet sector is a good pay-as-you-go solution, and hopefully we will see the economy improve. Like to be positive about that. We always say pallet networks are the first into recession and first out, because people take the trucks off the road. And of course, when volumes pick up and the economy improves, pallet networks are ideal there then to be picking up that so I think big opportunity there with as and when the volumes improve. And IT, digital information to customers, big opportunity, and it's one that our sector has really invested in over the last decade. And I'm very proud of the information that they can give customers. And with the growing B2C sector, that's even more important.
Thank you. And on the other side of the same question, really, what do you see as the biggest threats to the sector over the next 3 to 5 years?
So it's definitely the business failure, isn't it? That it's the rising costs, it's the funding, and transport. It's cost of entry, or it's very, very difficult to get into transport. So it's important that the businesses that are here are managed correctly, and of course managing compliance. So I think the biggest threats are the financial threats currently.
Okay, thank you. And what are people in the sector not talking about that perhaps they should be?
I think we should all be talking more about the journey to net zero, because I think in some areas that is an opportunity, and we should all be talking about that when we're looking at property investments and anything within our transport operations. It's the same agenda, David. It's manage your costs. People don't always want to talk about that. It's vehicle efficiency and telematic information from the vehicles. That information is there, and let's look at driver behaviour. Let's look at vehicle efficiency, and let's really get into the nub of what's going on in our operations to improve our cost base.
And perhaps with you working with the other associations, maybe that gets that a more public forum and more openly discussed.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that's great. And tying a little bit of what you were just talking about, how do you see the green transition impacting the pallet network sector?
Well, government needs to support our industries on the journey to net zero. We need an emission link rebate, David. We're pushing it. And we do need that, and we need support, we need subsidy to get this moving. We've got some early adopters that are working on with urban rigids, and we're seeing 4x2 tractor units now coming through. But we need support from government, because the cost base is a real challenge for our members right now.
Okay, and with the anecdotal, conversations you have with the pallet networks and the members, because obviously everyone's pushing towards net zero, but sometimes the cost of net zero costs money, and it's hard to actually pass that down the supply chain in a tough economic environment. So that must cause some challenges for the pallet networks and their members.
Yeah, but I think with the right application, David, and the right funding packages there for the vehicles, I think there's where they say where there's a will, there's a way, and we are seeing some successful implementations of rigid vehicles on pallet delivery work. But I think initially it's regionalised. But I think if we could get more support from government, we'd get a much better head start with it.
Yeah, to
absolutely make us parallel with our European competitors.
Okay, and are you're closer to it than I? Are they getting more support across Europe than the peers we are in the UK?
Yeah, in some areas, David, they get support from government, some tax rebates, etc.
Okay, no, thank you. Let's hope that happens in the near future. What developments in the sector have surprised you most in your not in your career so much, but in pallet networks? What has shocked you and surprised you over how it's developed?
Well, I think transport changes daily, doesn't it? Nothing surprises us any day when we come in. So transport is changing, and that's no different. I think one of the biggest changes is positive, really. It's been the technology and information that has come on so fast and allows the start to end management of the delivery journey. So that's really, allowed for the success of our sector. When we think now we're taking pictures of pallets when we're loading them on the forklift truck, etc. So that's just enhancing the just-in-time delivery expectation. And we're seeing, pressures from customers being very demanding. They want delivery now. They want it next day. So that's a development that perhaps has come on faster than some of us thought it might. But the IT has allowed us to deal with that in an efficient way.
No, excellent. And the transition towards more home deliveries with parcels, it's relatively easy, or packets. But when you're looking at pallets as a challenge, I bet that's been quite a challenge and an opportunity for all the pallet network companies.
Yeah, and it is, David. But I think we've learned from some of the parcel sector, and we've now got advising in advance by text when we're going to arrive, etc. Biggest challenge is things like curbside delivery and tail lift delivery, and that can't put the pallet in the house or etc. And we've worked really hard with our tail lift best practice to educate everyone in the chain to assist the drivers when they get their home delivery, because that has been a challenge. You're quite right.
Yeah, of course, and what consumers sometimes expect is not practical or sometimes possible.
Absolutely, yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, and that's part of the education of things like this, isn't it? To realise the practicalities, because we, as a consumer, when deliveries come to me, I'm always really interested in watching how it works, and generally it's really super efficient, and the drivers are the ambassadors for every every supplier and company, aren't they? They really are.
And really important, as you just hit the nail on the head, they're the ambassadors. And the thing with Pallet Networks, each driver is an ambassador for another member. So it's really important, and it works really well.
Yeah, really well. And the final question I'm asking everyone is, if you could speak to the Prime Minister, then what would you ask for? I saw a post on LinkedIn that yourself and some other associations have made contact and set out a sort of an agenda. Could you give us an overview of what you're asking for?
Yeah, of course I can, David. Of course I can. 89% of freight is delivered by road. 98% of food and agricultural is delivered by road. So, the industry contributes £13.5 billion to the UK economy. So we're a substantial player. 2.7 million employees. So we're asking government, we need to see a freeze on tax duty, fuel, VED. We need to suspend the HGV levy. I think they should be looking to reduce corporation tax. We've lobbied for many years now for the essential user rebate for the haulage industry. And we're still pushing for that. Planning relaxation to allow operating centres to be built where we need them. Talking about net zero, and electric vehicles, we need them close to where we've got to deliver. So we've not got wasted miles, and there have been issues with planning. So we're asking for assistance relaxation on that. Review on skills policies, so to help us attract new people. That we've said. I had got to mention today DVS and direct vision extension, and I believe I've heard this morning that has been extended till May. So that's really going to help the sector. But most of all, the one ask, David, is what you asked me, is we're asking government to partner with the logistics sector, and that's what we need. And we need a minister for logistics that can work with the trade associations on the journey and really get to understand what our real issues are. So if the one ask, it would be to appoint a minister for logistics. Okay, no, that's superb, and thanks for answering that so well. So I'd just like to say thank you again, Paul, for your excellent overview of the Pallet Network sector. I'm sure it'll be very interesting to all those people that know about it or don't know about the sector, what you do and how well you do it. Thank you very much for your time again. No problem. Thanks, David.